Hey Stampers, welcome to BrandysCards. Today I have a super fun card for you. We are going to watercolor the most beautiful bluebird. It's super easy, super fun, and you know what you need? You need watercolor pencils. That's right, so we've got some watercolor pencils here. I also have my water painter. Love this tool. I'm going to show you how to use it. I'm going to show you how to blend these colors beautifully. So here, do you want to see the beautiful bird we're going to make today? So this bird was colored with my watercolor pencils. It's so easy to do, and I can't wait to show you how I did it. Yep, so let me show you exactly how I did it. We're going to get started, and we're going to start coloring this bird. But before I do that, I'm going to show you where my inspiration came from. And if you like my video today and you find it helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. That will help me grow my channel. And of course, hit that notification bell so that you're notified of my next video. Okay, so let's get started. So here is this beautiful bird that I found this beautiful bird online. It's a gorgeous bluebird, right? And I thought, wow, well, I want to recreate this. So what I did is I found my Happy Holidays stamp set, and this is out of the Stampin' Up! Catalog. It's out of the mini catalog, the July through December 2021 catalog. He's beautiful, and I thought, yeah, I could totally make that work, and I could color that bird. So I'm excited to show you exactly how I did that. You're going to need your watercolor pencils, and of course, you're going to need Stays On Black ink. We need to use Stays On Black ink when we are coloring with our watercolor pencils or our blender pen. So that way the image doesn't run, right? So you don't bleed. So I have my bird mounted right here, and I just inked it in Stays On Black, and I stamped it on watercolor paper. That's right, here at Stampin' Up! We have some fantastic watercolor paper. It's called Fluid 100 watercolor paper. Very, very nice. You know, it does have a little bit of a texture to it, and it does absorb the water beautifully, and it allows you to blend. So that is what I like about our watercolor paper. It's quite nice. And so when you stamp your image, you're going to want to make sure that you ink up the bird in your Stays On Black, stamp it on scrap paper, and then ink it up again really good and stamp it on your watercolor paper, because you do want a nice solid image. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. You can also, if you wanted to, you can emboss this image too, right? But that would be a different process, a different ink, of course, and then of course embossing powder and things like that. But today we're going to keep it simple. We're going to do Stays On Black and some watercolor pencils. The colors I have here are Early Espresso, Night of Navy, and I also have Crushed Curry. Yeah, that's right. So those are my colors that I have for my bird today. So we're going to start out with Night of Navy. This one is, I think, perfect for this bird. I'm going to kind of start up here at the top of his head, and I do have kind of an example that I'm working with. I'm definitely using my picture as kind of my idea, or, you know, kind of the starting place. And, you know, when you think about watercoloring, you're going to have to do it 2 or 3 times. Just stamp this beautiful bird on some scrap paper, and you could certainly use just normal basic white paper to kind of give it a first go, right? And just practice with it until you feel more confident, and then jump in and stamp it on some watercolor paper and have fun. Now I'm just adding the darkest of my color around his eye, the top of his head, down his back. And then I'm just gonna, it's where I want the darkest color to be concentrated. And I'm thinking like right down here on the bottom of his wing, I want some beautiful blue down there. But of course, you know, I want it to look watercolored, so I don't want to add too much of the blue. You know, I don't want to deposit too much of the dark blue, because then I'll start to kind of lose the beauty of the watercolor look. It'll make it all too dark. So here we go. I'm going to grab I'm going to just kind of put these on the other side here. I also have, I've got a Crushed Curry pencil here, and I also have the Early Espresso. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you how I colored the whole thing, you know, the whole bird with some of these other pencils. And then I'm going to show you how I smoothed it out, or I blended it, okay? So again, I'm looking at a picture of a bird that I found online, and I'm just trying to kind of recreate it. So you can just find a picture and print it off. You could try it with your Stampin' Blends, maybe. Maybe you like that look, if that's what you have available to you. So just see what means that you have, and give it a try. You don't know how beautiful it's going to turn out until you give it a go. Now this is crushed curry. So I had early espresso. I'm not sure if I mentioned that or not, but that was early espresso where I added the dark, and then I added a bit of crushed curry because it's going to bring it a little bit of lighter, a little bit of that yellow, and kind of pop it. Now you're also going to want a gray, and that's going to be for his beak. So let's go ahead. Now one thing that I have found with these water painters, I find sometimes it's difficult to squeeze. So when you add your water to this water painter, you're going to screw off the top and you're going to fill that full of water. So that's what's inside there. And then of course you're going to add that back on top of there. And the idea is you're going to want water to come down into the brush, but you want to kind of control that. Sometimes it's difficult to press with your fingers. So what I do is I generally just try to get a dab of water on an acrylic block. So I have, I don't have to worry about squeezing it. I can just kind of dab my brush in there and get what I need. So here we go. Let's go on. And of course, if you want to get that off of there, just kind of wipe it on your watercolor paper. This bird is actually going to be hand cut out. And for that reason, I can use the side here as my scrap paper. So I'm going to start at the top of his head. And as you can see, as I kind of do my little swirls here, I'm starting to kind of get that beautiful dark blue. Can you see that? How beautiful that is? And then what I'm going to do is just continue to swirl it down, and it's going to get lighter and lighter and lighter until I just don't have any more color there. And so the more, the more water you add, of course, the more it's going to kind of get lighter and lighter and so forth. Now down here, I've got some dark. And I can kind of control where I want that, the lights and the darks, as long as you're careful. Now I haven't squeezed this again yet. I certainly could, or I could pick up some water. And I'm going to start down here on the wing, and you can see the beautiful dark concentrated blue right through here. And I just wipe my brush off because I want it to get lighter. I want, that kind of those lights and those darks of that beautiful, watercolored type of look. So you can kind of see how that's coming along quite nicely. And I don't want to fill this part in because you can see that it's watercolored, and you can see that, there's some contrast there. So let me wipe off my brush, and let's kind of fill in the inside of his wing. And then we're going to move over here to his tail. Same concept, you've got the darkest area. And, and again, I colored this 2 or 3 times. 2 or 3 times before I really figured out how I like it. So, you might have to color it 2, 3, 4 times. It does, it'll take a little practice, but I promise you, if you give it a try, you can do this too. Absolutely. It is so beautiful and so fun. So I'm working my way around his eye, and I did want some dark around his eye, but I also want to be able to blend that nicely into the color of his chest. Now remember, I have early espresso and I have crushed curry. So we're going to just start to blend that espresso, and I'm going to take it in a downward. I'm going to blend it down because I do want it to get sort of lighter. And of course, I want some of that yellow to come out too, some of that crushed curry. And so you can see I'm just trying to be very mindful of how much of the color that I have on my brush. Now I want it to be lighter down here on the bottom of him, right? And so now let's just say you think, well, maybe you think that might be a little too yellow. Well, that's okay. What we can do is we can kind of come back in here and maybe just add a bit more of our espresso. Yeah, just kind of touch it up a little bit. And then with your watercolor, your water painter, we can get back in here and move some of this color around again and kind of brush some of that color up into his body. All right, So then what you're going to do is once you get him colored and you're happy with how he turned out, you're going to want to definitely color his feet. And so I just added some early espresso to his feet, and I went back in with my water painter and just blended that, just smoothed that out a little bit so it looked watercolored just like the bird did. And then I took my gray, this is a basic gray watercolor pencil, and I'm just going to use the tip of my brush and just pick up a bit of that basic gray. And I'm just picking that up, and I'm just going to add that right here to his beak. So there you have it. He is beautiful. He's so easy to color. He is so fun to color too. And I actually have another bird that I'm super excited. I actually colored this bird right here. And my next video, if you haven't seen this bird colored, I am going to have a video for you that you can see exactly how I colored this one too. They are so much fun to work with. So here's my bluebird. I'm going to take some of my snips. Then you're going to cut him out, and here he is cut out and finished. So let me show you how I put my card together. I have some basic white, and I also have some cardstock that is embossed in the Time Worn Type 3D embossing folder. This embossing folder is just so lovely, and I just have some basic white cardstock here. And I had some scrap when I cut my piece here to size, and so I decided that I was going to make a strip, and then inside that strip I was going to mount my designer paper so that it was kind of decorative, right? So that's what I decided to do, is make this decorative, inside to that. I'm also going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals right behind here. Now, if you like my video today and you found this helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. This way you are notified if you hit the bell for my future videos. I'd love to share with you. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, make sure that you reach out. Go to BrandysCards.com and you can click on the contact and send me a note. Send me your address. I'd love the opportunity to help you and, of course, to earn your business. So I can answer any questions that you have, and of course, if I can't answer it, because some I can't answer, I can always find a resource to help figure out what the answer is and try to get you that help. All right, so before I actually stick this down, I'm going to pull out my sentiment that I'm going to use. And this sentiment is always thinking of you. And I've already got that mounted. And let's see, always thinking of you. Now, I generally like to stamp on scrap paper before I dive in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my scrap paper here and just kind of get a feel for my stamp. And I am going to put this right about in there. So of course that is the back side of that. I did that on purpose in the event that I had some ink on my stamp, right? I didn't want to get it on the pretty embossed image. So we're going to flip this over and we're going to add this right in here. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. So pretty. And then we're going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals behind our bird, and we are going to add him to our card. Now, one thing I'm excited about in this stamp set, they've got some really pretty holly. And the holly, you can color it as well, and it's just beautiful when you do. So let me show you what the holly looks like. So you can stamp that, right? And you can stamp that in your Stays on Black. And the colors that I used to color it, I actually used the garden green, I used cherry cobbler and real red to color that holly. So it's quite easy. You're just going to take your real red pencil, and I just added some real red in here, and then I used my water painter to color it or to blend it. You might even be able to do a lot of this with your blender pen. You would just have to give it a try and see how well it blends for you. Now, one of the reasons that I pulled cherry cobbler is because I thought that the cherry cobbler would help kind of add a little bit more depth right into here. So I added some cherry cobbler, and then of course you're going to want to smooth that out a little bit with that light and dark, kind of a little bit of a circle motion, kind of get that just like that. It's so pretty. And this is garden green. And so with the garden green, I'm just going to focus really on the lines of the leaf. And I'm just going to focus on the lines of the leaf and deposit some color kind of where I want my lights, you know, kind of where I want my darks to be. And then of course, you're going to go back in with your water painter. And we're just going to add, you know, just kind of smooth that out. Now remember, you want that kind of light and dark area, so clean that brush off. Don't be afraid to do that and get some of that ink off there. You can certainly, now I am cutting this out, so I'm not terribly concerned if I go outside the lines. I'm trying not to, but on camera, sometimes my eyes play tricks on me. So I'm just kind of coloring that. But I am definitely cutting it out. Now, one thing I can do is I can actually go back in and add a little bit more of my garden green through here if I wanted to do that, and kind of smooth it back out and kind of get some more color in there. So that's how I colored my holly, and then I cut that out. I hand cut that out, and I'm going to add that to my card. So you're going to want a mini glue dot, or potentially you could just use glue, whatever works for you. And so I'm going to add my mini glue dot, a couple of them, and I thought it would be really kind of pretty right here behind the bird. And so that's where I added my dot. So that is my fun bluebird. And as you can see, it's taken me a couple of practices, right? Here's my original. All of my birds look different. They do. Each one takes on its own characteristic, which I love. They're unique. They're super fun to color. This one I did not add crushed curry, but this one I did. So, you know, do what you like, of course. You can add some jewels or gems, or maybe some linen thread if you wanted to do that as well. And again, the stamp set that this came from is the Happy Holidays stamp set. And this stamp set, again, is in our holiday catalog, the July through December 2021 Stampin' Up! Catalog. So if you don't have any Stampin' Up! Catalogs, please be sure to reach out. I'd love the opportunity to send you one and earn your business. So, okay, so there's my fun cards. I hope that you enjoyed my cards. I hope that you enjoyed me coloring that bird. You can do this at home. I promise you, you can. It's super fun to do. You just got to be patient and you got to practice a little bit, right? But you can do it. And just grab your watercolor pencils and don't be afraid to kind of mix the colors. You know, at first I was a little nervous about taking the early espresso and then adding the crushed curry and then blending that together. But after I did it a few times, I realized, like, wow, that really adds a beautiful highlight. So again, it's trial and error and it's practice, but you can absolutely do it. Now, you're going to want to find my other video with this beautiful, I don't know if he's a mama robin or a wren or what he is, but he's beautiful. And I'm excited to show you exactly how I colored that one too. So thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that and hit that notification bell so you're notified of my next video. Thanks for stopping by. Happy stamping!